So far in this series, we've covered a lot of ground with Alastor, including who he is, his role, how he wields power, how he relates to other characters, and what his intentions are with Charlie. But one thing we haven't touched on at all has some of the most important influences on his actions. Before the events of the show, Alastor made a deal with an entity unknown to us. We never hear the terms of the deal, but we can make some inferences about it based on the clues we're given throughout the show. We first learn of Alastor's deal in episode 5, when Husk retorts,
"Big talk for someone who's also on a leash."
At this, Alastor reacts in a way we've never seen before. Usually he's collected, glib, dismissive, blasé, but at Husk's comment he begins to yell and threatens Husk that he'll rip his soul apart if he ever speaks of Alastor's subservient condition again.
"If you ever say that again, I will tear your soul apart and broadcast your screams for every other disrespectful wretch who dares to question me."
Understood?
He's sensitive and secretive about it. After all, knowing why he does what he does changes how the other characters and the audience can interpret his words and actions. This has the potential to make him vulnerable, but more on that later. There's a second nod to Alastor's deal in the same episode. When the loan sharks attack the hotel, he says,
"Now, my dear, leave it to me. It's time I remind everyone why I am here."
Okay, hold up. Didn't he say earlier that he was there to watch people struggle to improve themselves and fail miserably?
"I came here because I love seeing wasteful souls struggle to accomplish something meaningful and fail spectacularly."
Then he told Zestiel that the reason he was at Charlie's hotel was nobody's business but his own.
"There too hath been rumor of thy involvement with the princess and her recent flight to fancy. Tell me, how dost thou fall into such folly?"
"That is for me to know."
Now he's saying that the reason he's there is to defend the hotel. Could this caginess be connected to the parameters of the deal and his not wanting his weaknesses known? The most important clue to what his deal was comes at the end of episode 8. He sings,
"And I barely escaped being killed by a hair. Great Alastor, altruist, died for his friends. Sorry to disappoint, that is not where this ends. I'm hungry for freedom like never before. The constraints of my deal surely have a back door. Once I figure out how to unclip my wings, guess who will be pulling all the strings?"
Alastor made a deal. We don't know what for, but the price was that he has to protect Charlie and/or the hotel. If he'd been free to choose, he wouldn't have put himself in so much danger. At the very least, it does seem the deal doesn't require him to sacrifice himself for Charlie because he was able to escape being killed by a hair.
"And I barely escaped being killed by a hair."
But I think it's fair to assume that his deal reads something like, I'm not asking you to give your life, but I do need you to give your all protecting Charlie and/or the hotel. This caveat has a similarity to the caveat Charlie insisted upon. One favor in which she harms no one, protection up to but not including giving his own life. The questions that remain are who holds his contract and why he made the deal. I have guesses, a lot of people have other guesses. I don't have any kind of special insight. These are just my personal pet theories. If they turn out to be wrong, well, I'm not a psychic and it doesn't retroactively make the rest of the video wrong because this section went off the rails a bit. I'll let you know when the analysis starts again. The low-hanging fruit for who made this deal is Charlie's mom, Lilith. She and Alastor have both been gone for 7 years at the start of the show.
Oof, how long has it been now?
Not that long, only 7 years.
It's been 7 years!
So there's a possibility that it's more than coincidence. Zestiel even suggests that Alastor had been in holy arms while he'd been away.
"Some have spun wild tales of you falling to holy arms."
And in the end, we see that Lilith has been in heaven.
Your brat is threatening the very foundation of heaven. And if you want to stay here, you're going down there and stopping that bitch. You understand me, Lilith?
Alastor even makes a reference to figuring out how to unclip his wings.
"Once I figure out how to unclip my wings,"
which is a common metaphor for feeling trapped, but it could also be literal. Characters in this show have had their wings clipped.
Filth like you has no place in heaven.
Was he with Lilith in heaven? If anyone's going to recruit an extremely powerful demon to protect Charlie, it's her own mother. But there are things about this theory that I won't say they don't make sense, but they do need explaining. First, why Alastor? He's an odd choice for a protector, benefactor, and ally. Did Lilith and Alastor know each other? Lucifer and Alastor sure didn't.
And you are?
Alastor, pleasure to be meeting you, sir. Quite a pleasure.
Charlie does say at the beginning that her mom was more engaged with Hell than her dad was, but does that mean she knows Alastor and trusts him with Charlie? As for why he made the deal, I can't even begin to guess. Maybe he wanted more power or something, but whatever it was, it must have been pretty sweet to make such a commitment to protect Charlie. With regards to why he was willing to make that commitment, I can only guess that maybe he underestimated the difficulty of the task he was taking on. How hard could babysitting duty be? Or maybe he overestimated his own strength. He's a very powerful demon. We see him take on threat after threat without worry. For example, when Mimsy brought trouble to the hotel, he didn't give a second thought as to whether he could take on whatever trouble she got herself into.
That bitch is trouble. And who knows what kind of demon she fucked with to come running to you this time.
It's nothing I can't handle. Don't worry, Husker.
If he's never been beaten before, he might have thought he could take on anything that came Charlie's way. Or maybe his half of the deal really was that good, in which case I can't wait to find out what it was. Okay, back to analysis with a deep dive into what the deal means for everything we thought we knew, because Alastor's deal has enormous implications for his character and how his character navigates the world of Hazbin Hotel. Being committed to taking care of Charlie and or the hotel limits what he's able to do. We see his new limits in 3 key moments throughout season 1. First, as I mentioned in other sections, whenever someone asks him why he's at the Hazbin Hotel, he gives a different answer.
I came here because I love seeing wasteful souls struggle to accomplish something meaningful and fail spectacularly. That is for me to know. But please do guess. I'd love to know the theories. It's time I remind everyone why I am here.
So perhaps he's not just laughing at their suffering, but then why say that that was his reason for being there? Because it's embarrassing and potentially dangerous for him to let it slip that he's tethered. He may feel that if Charlie found out, she would exploit him. If the overlords found out, he might be in danger. If the masses found out, he might lose a considerable amount of his soft power that he's built up in the decades he's been in hell. This cannot happen, and he keeps it secret at all costs. Second, this deal changes how he relates to his friend Mimsy. When she shows up, they greet each other warmly.
Mimsy!
Alastor, sweetie, dollface, so good to see you. How you been? Good? Good.
She's come to him for protection, as she's done many times before, trusting that he won't mind because he can handle anything. But when he handles the trouble she's brought, Alastor turns her away.
I think you should go, Mimsy. Now.
This is so out of character for him that Mimsy assumes he's making jokes.
Oh, Alastor, you're such a kitty, you. You are so funny.
She can't believe he would do something like this, and he tells her why.
You deliberately brought danger to this place just to have me clean up your mess. I can't have that here.
Because of his deal, he can't make choices that endanger the hotel, and at times is forced to act in ways that seem to be out of character for those who know him well.
Come on, I know you. You heartless son of a bitch.
Finally, we see Alastor break his rule of reserving hard power for those who are weaker than him or already under his control when he takes on Adam in the fight.
Adam! First man, next to die.
This might not be, as I previously suggested, a matter of him growing to believe in the hotel and wanting to do his part, taking one for the team by taking on the big bad because he's the only one who stands a chance against him. It might be that he has no choice. This is certainly what the song makes it sound like when he sings,
And I barely escaped being killed by a hair. Great Alastor, altruist, died for his friends. Sorry to disappoint, that is not where this ends.
He's angry that his deal is forcing him into uncomfortable, dangerous positions that he would never have chosen to be in if he were choosing for himself. Suddenly, a lot of the things he did for Charlie in the hotel are shown to not have been his choice. His arm was twisted, and he's trying desperately to get out of his contract. He'd do anything to free himself and keep himself safe, including manipulate Charlie into thinking they're friends so she'll let him go.
What's a favor between friends?
Now, I can't stress enough, this isn't the only read on their relationship, or the only one that matters. Just because he's mad he's stuck with Charlie and scared because he was almost killed doesn't mean there isn't anything more to their relationship. I can think of lots of stories where characters were brought together by force or by chance, where one character has no choice but to follow and help the other, where they form a real relationship. Aladdin and the Genie from Aladdin, Tristan and Yvain from Stardust, Merlin and Arthur from King Arthur. There's certainly a chance that Charlie and Alastor have or can build a real relationship, and even a chance that Charlie convinces Alastor to redeem himself. It's also the case that right now, at the end of season 1, Alastor is at the very least acting the con man to get Charlie to trust him because he needs something from her, and in light of that, it's very difficult to say with any degree of certainty that any of what they have between them is genuine. It might feel very genuine from Charlie's point of view. Look how happy she is that he came back after the fight.
And we're doing it with a smile.
But that doesn't mean it's the real deal or the whole truth. Moving into later seasons, I have 2 predictions. First, I think Alastor will be the season 3 villain. The way things are set up, we know Alastor is playing nice with our protagonists primarily because he has to, and he's mad about it. I think that his deal with Charlie will lead to him being freed at the end of season 2, which will prompt him to lash out against them in the 3rd season. Second, I think that freedom will allow for a more authentic relationship between him and Charlie. Right now, he plays nice with her because he needs something from her and because he's tied to her, but there's precedent both in literary tradition and in Vivian Medrano's other work, specifically between Blitz and Stolas, that points to this being something that she's put thought into as a creator, and there's a real possibility that they will eventually have a real bond. I can see Alastor becoming a real team player in later seasons. All right, I think that's everything I had to say. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the series. Comment to let me know your takes on Alastor or anything I've said. He's a great character and I did my best, but certainly couldn't have gotten everything. I feel lighter for having gotten all of that out. But I still have these thoughts about Charlie, Angel Dust, Lucifer, and Nifty. If you're curious about any of those upcoming videos, subscribe for more. Also, check out my growing playlist of Hazbin Hotel videos. I'm having a hell of a time making them and don't expect to run out of things to say anytime soon.